Hey everyone, and welcome to the Entrepreneur Pod Guide, created to share the collective wisdom of everyday entrepreneurs who are bringing their visions to life, the ones in the arena. We've all read the same billionaire books, but what about the wisdom from the entrepreneur next door? The ones building, learning, failing forward, and figuring it out one step at a time. I'm your host, Britt Rodriguez, and every episode we're bringing you honest conversations, fresh insights, and lessons from entrepreneurs just like you. This is your place to learn, grow, and get inspired by your fellow business owners who are actually out there building businesses today, not just dreaming about them. So, let's get started.
Today's guest is Dr. Sage Breslin, a licensed psychologist, founder of Sage Wisdom Institute, and creator of the ROSE system, which stands for Restoring Old Soul Empowerment. In this episode, Britt and Dr. Breslin talk about why so many brilliant, high-achieving women can thrive in business, but still find themselves drained by toxic relationships, narcissistic dynamics, and people who take more than they give. For entrepreneurs, this conversation is a powerful reminder. Protecting your energy is part of protecting your business. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the podcast, Dr. Sage Breslin. We are so happy to have you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We are really excited to dig into all the work you're doing with the Sage Wisdom Institute. So please go ahead, Dr. Breslin. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your company?
Sure. I am a licensed psychologist and newly cross-state licensed. As a community of psychologists, generally speaking, we have to license in every state that we're going to practice in.
Mm.
But during the pandemic, some wonderful opportunities were created, and we can now apply to, I think it's about 44, 45 states.
Wow.
And I just received that. So I feel like I'm suddenly very lucky that I can take on counseling clients in now way more states than I could before. I also do coaching, so that can work in a pinch, but I love to do what I was trained to do. So
Yeah.
um I have the Sage Wisdom Institute, and I include a few other colleagues that work with me when the work exceeds my capacity. And my passion project is the ROSE system for restoring old soul empowerment. So, um, and basically, after working most of my career with men, I am now very, very committed to about 90% of my practice is working with women, especially women in leadership roles that
Nice.
have been uh, derailed by toxic relationships and want to be uplifted so that they can reclaim their power in their lives.
Excellent. So can you tell me a little bit more about that then? What is the name of it again?
The ROSE system.
The Rose system.
So
Yeah. So that sounds so interesting.
yeah.
Let's dig in a little.
So there are a couple of pieces. So ROSE stands for Restoring Old Soul Empowerment. And that is a story in and of itself, but also the symbol of the rose is for sort of the highest spiritual connection.
Mm.
So I loved it when I found the acronym. When I saw it, I was writing and I was like, oh, look. And then I thought, I've got to look that up. And I looked it up and it was exactly aligned with what we do. And I thought, okay, well, there you go. This is going to be the brand. I just feel it in my bones.
Nice.
Um, so kind of the short story is that we have seen sort of epidemic level proportions of women, especially like high achieving women, brilliant, highly trained women who are found repeatedly to be in relationship with narcissists.
Interesting.
And it is interesting. It's fascinating, in fact. And, I myself struggled with that more than once. I would call myself a frequent flyer, unfortunately.
Oh, no.
And I really didn't understand, like, what the heck? I'm smart, I'm educated, I'm well trained. I'm a psychologist, for God's sakes, right? So I felt like I was missing something. And I really did a lot of work on myself. More therapy hours than the average human, lots of experiential work. And it really wasn't until I developed bone marrow cancer and went into a cancer journey that it's like the rubber hit the road. Like I finally came to this deep understanding of what was happening for me.
Wow.
And I then figured out like how to actually resolve what we call the narcissist magnet. I learned how to ditch the narcissist magnet once and for all.
Wow.
And once I did it for myself, I thought, I got to try this with my clients. And once it started working with clients, I thought, I want all women to have this. All women who need this, I want them to have this. And the more I went forward, the more I thought, I want all female leaders to have this because they will affect even more people.
Mm.
And I just wanted to see this sort of epidemic stop. So that's a little bit about how the thing was birthed. And I can tell you more about what we do if that's of interest.
Yeah, it definitely is. Well, first of all, I have to ask, with your cancer diagnosis, are you on the other side of it now?
Well, multiple myeloma is it's a weird and rare cancer. It seems to have a mind of its own.
Okay.
So I am incredibly lucky in the sense that medical science has really been kicking ass and taking names,
Oh, good.
and have been now in remission for 2 years. I'm in year 9
Wow.
with this cancer and have been in remission for 2 years. I had a weird little blip this summer, but we're hoping that it's just resolved itself. Um, but the weird thing is, it can just choose not to respond to treatment whenever it wants to.
Mm.
It's just it's a strange cancer in that way. So I'm asking that it not return. I feel like it's been very useful. I have gotten incredible gifts as a result of this cancer journey. Probably one of the biggest ones was actually coming to understand, how I could choose a healthier life for myself and teach that to other women. So I'm just hoping that, yeah, that it just stays away.
Talk about taking something incredibly, incredibly difficult that life throws at you and turning it into something positive.
Yeah.
And let's just celebrate for a second that you've been in remission for 2 years. That's wonderful. So I'm very happy to hear that.
Thank you.
And the fact that you turned something very hard and challenging into something so lovely, and that you used it to better yourself as well. That's amazing to hear. So, what I would like to dig in that a little bit, only because the more you talk about this, the more I realize I've said so many times to people, I'm like, "That woman is so brilliant. She's so smart. What is she thinking? Why does" she's great in her business. Her, health kicks butt. She is just, like, rocking and rolling in every facet of her life, but she picks the most terrible partners. Why is
Yeah.
that something that we say a lot about, these wonderful women? What did you figure out? Yeah, I'd love
Well,
to hear your thoughts.
well, there's a secret to it. And it was something even you used a word that I use, I don't know, 10 times a day. So the secret is that old soul women are here to uplift, serve, and heal others. So you used the word uplift when we were first talking, and I thought, ooh,
Mm.
I bet she's an old soul woman too. It's just what we do. We come here and we feel better when we can improve circumstances, people, situations. It's just a thing. It's our mission, so to speak. Now, not everyone is an old soul, but those of us who are, we really have this incredible drive to help and to heal others. And when we get around people who just vibe out need,
Mm,
we want to help.
mm,
And so we lean in and we do whatever we can. First, we align, we connect, we give of our heart, we give our love. And then, if there's something specific that that person needs, we will do everything in our power to fix it, to make sure that is it a resource? Is it a connection? Is it a contact? Is it, what is it? And unfortunately, that makes us very susceptible to being manipulated by those who need on a regular basis. So,
right.
narcissists, sociopaths, people with low functioning borderline personality disorder, none of them really has a core sense of self, a developed core sense of self. So, I describe it as, these folks really are dependent on others for their fuel source, for their power source, for their emotional regulation. And they hate that, by the way. They hate the need, but it's just how it is. And so they develop skills that enable them to latch on to people so that they can get their needs met. It
Wow.
would be great if it wasn't um, really distasteful for the rest of us on the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
So, in the situation where a narcissist comes across a lovely old soul who, and an old soul, their energy is like nirvana, right? It's like the best, the sweetest, sweet, and the highest octane fuel.
Mm.
So, a well-functioning old soul woman, she kicks ass. She is there's like an energizer bunny. She is highly competent, highly loving, just there to do it and get it all done, and probably a big multitasker at the same time. And so, when the narcissist meets somebody like that, not only is it going to be a great source of fuel, but it's going to be good game
Mm.
because they like a good game.
Okay.
They like to power over. They like to subordinate those that are maybe more adept than they are. And that's sort of the dark underbelly, right? Because it is, ravaging that they do, unfortunately.
Mm.
And the more they manipulate, and of course, the manipulation looks great in the beginning, right? It's, you're so lovely. I've waited my whole life to find somebody like you. Gosh, you do that effortlessly. I could never do that. Yada, 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 right? And once that woman is hooked, or man, but in this case, talking about women, once that woman is hooked, all of that stuff stops,
Mm.
and the love bombing stops, and then the gaslighting begins. And right around that time, we old soul women we get, privy to the fact that we are being manipulated, but we are so disempowered that we don't know how to get out. We don't
Mm.
feel as if we can get out. And what I discovered was, along the way, I was a trauma psychologist for 25 years. And what I discovered is that when people are in highly traumatic situations, they tend to put their souls in safekeeping. They put the self in the vault,
Mm.
which is great, right? Because nobody can steal it from you then.
Right.
It's also horrific because you are now cut off from your eternal power source. So, whether you believe in God or higher power, or whatever you want to call that, that fuel goes away. And now you are just a meat suit.
Mm.
And unfortunately, the meat suit is not all that effective.
Right.
It's pretty concrete. It's got pretty concrete energy. And the more somebody works you over, the more you fall below that water's edge and become more and more disabled. And then it's just about survival. Then it's, how do I keep my head above water in this relationship where there's really nothing for me, but I don't have enough to get out?
Mm.
And so, along the way, I needed to discover how to get out for myself. I didn't discover it until I really was at death's door.
Mm.
And then I realized I have 5 children, and something's gotta give.
Mm.
I have to be able to be a mom to my 5 children.
Mm.
And I guess God graced me, and I got this download for what had been happening. I saw it clearly, and then I got another download that showed me, if you do this, then this will happen. And I did it for myself, and then I repeated it with other people. And then I realized, this is a program, this is a system. Like, I can do this. And that's when I developed the Rose system, which is a year-long journey to support that sort of recovery and reclamation process for women who are trying to recover
Mm.
from toxic relationships.
Now, do you help them understand that they are in a toxic relationship, or is it that they have finally become aware in some shape, form, or fashion, and then
I
they
would
come to
say
you?
Most of the women who come to me have either left
Mm,
or have left and gone back and realized, "Oh god, I did it again," or gone to another similar kind of relationship. That's why the accidental magnet, that's why we call it ditching the narcissist magnet, because it feels like it's all you can do to attract these people into your life over and over and over again,
mm,
and you send them packing finally, and they boomerang bite right back.
right.
So, I would say a little bit of both, but most of the women who find me are aware that they've had a toxic relationship, but they will minimize it to no end. They will minimize the damage, they will minimize what they've been through. And the first piece of the rose system, our very first effort, is going to be really helping you look at what has happened
Mm,
honestly, painstakingly, comprehensively, and part of that is educating you so that when you say, "This happened, and this happened, and this happened," and we ask, "What about this and that?" And when a woman says, "Oh, those don't count because," we say, "No, no, no. No, no, no. Remember, we're trying to plug you back in. So, nope, they all count." And we help to show those patterns and how deeply they impact the sense of self and one's ability to function, one's confidence, self esteem, mojo. And the second step is looking at sort of historical roots for those things.
mm,
And once we're able to see, what has happened to you, the what has happened for you comes later, but what has happened to you, are there historical roots? Are there roots of other kinds of unhealthy relationships in your past? And then, of course, the next step is, sussing out those roots and disconnecting them, like pulling out the plugs. And once we can do that, then we are able to bring the soul back into position. We're able to put the soul back in the driver's seat and reactivate it so that the woman is now sort of able to pipe her own power and
mm.
able to feel safe in her own body, in her own surroundings. And that's when we can start to kind of vision again moving forward. And we plug in the rest of the women in our community to help to do that.
Lovely. And so I'm interested in the connection with women in leadership because you mentioned that those are a lot of the women that you work with. And I'm curious about the toxic relationships and narcissism. Is it just their, romantic partners, or are they drawn to narcissistic relationships in all shapes, forms, or fashion?
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's I'll use the word attraction because that's what a magnet is, right? I mean, they'll draw to themselves, whether it's a narcissistic lover, spouse, friend, family member, boss, coworkers. Because it's not the person that's attracting them, right? It's that gaping need inside. That's what they can feel.
Mm.
And wherever they can feel that sense of need, there is this incredible urge to resolve the need.
Yeah.
Let me fix it. Let me help. Let me uplift. Let me
Wow.
serve. Let me heal, whatever their capacity is. And so it doesn't really matter. I know that for me, when it was all sort of unchecked, I couldn't go through the grocery store without feeling like I wanted to reach out to anyone who was struggling that I came across. I wanted to stop and help.
Mm.
And I had to learn how to discern, um, what makes sense for me, what makes sense for them. Is it warranted? Is it appropriate?
Mm.
And kind of prioritize all that.
Wow. That is very fascinating. And I'm not surprised to hear it because you're right. A lot of the most incredible women I know, like I said earlier, I often find myself scratching my head thinking, what are they thinking? But it is because they are so in tune, I believe, with the needs of others and that they have a very deep drive to help. And it's such a beautiful thing that then gets twisted and manipulated. Do you have any tips but because I am certain that a lot of the people in our audience are exactly who you're describing. A lot of really high achieving, incredible women. Um, they may not be on the awareness side yet.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips? Like, I know we can't go super in depth, but any kind of quick tips that might be things that they could look for? Whether it's, again, I like that you've said it's not just romantic partners, it could be friendships, because those come in a lot. The people that we're hiring, the people that we work with, the clients we can take on.
Yeah.
And when can they tell that something has become toxic or that the person might be narcissistic and they need to probably reconsider before going too far down that path with them?
Yeah, so I have 2 different kind of approaches to your question. One is, you know, know thyself, right? Know yourself.
Mm.
And so I actually developed a little mini quiz, I thought 8 or 9 questions, that helps you to identify what your old soul woman archetype is.
Oh, nice.
So, super easy quiz. Knowing your archetype helps you understand what you're going to be attracted to.
Oh, wow.
It's not just, for instance, I'm going to try to like differentiate. The fairy archetype is more of a solo, more oriented towards the earth and her creatures than, say, to lots of crowds of people, or just more oriented to the earth and her creatures than to people.
Okay.
People are harder for a fairy archetype. They tend to be more introverted, some shy, some not, but introverted. So that's very different, to know yourself as if that's your archetype. Knowing those things about yourself will help you understand when a person seeks you out, wants to engage with you. Um, you need to kind of understand their motives. And if you understand, as an old soul woman and as a fairy woman, for instance, you will now understand what they may want to do with you.
Right. And why, like, what their motivation is.
Yes,
And I love
especially
this.
if it's negative. So,
Yeah, these archetypes are fascinating because, so I had a coach that does, like, financial archetypes, and so you've created a quiz, and those can be so helpful, and I'm sure on the outside of the quiz, you get all kinds of details and information.
yeah,
Now, of course, I'm gonna, definitely have ways that people can contact you at the end of this,
good.
but can you share how people who right now are like, "Oh my gosh, I wanna take that quiz," where can they find that?
Yeah, it's just www.oldsoulwomen.com.
Okay, and then that's how they can go and find the quiz so they can learn about themselves because that's part
Yes.
1. Okay,
Yes.
great.
So that is, we say the best defense is a good offense, right? So
Yes.
knowing yourself is really where it begins, right? So, knowing what your archetype will help you not only better understand what all your bells and whistles are, but also why people might be interested in using you, manipulating you. Like, so that is important. I think, the other side of the coin, to answer is when you're in a situation that is toxic and you're not yet aware of that, or you may go through what most people go through is like, "Oh, it must be me. I must not be getting that right. Oh my gosh, I must have missed that." We take it on because then we can do something about it,
Right.
right? We don't just jump to the conclusion like, "Well, that person's a narcissist." Some of us do. So, um, when a person is in that kind of circumstance, I like for them to be able to answer a few questions about the circumstance itself. So, one of the key elements I think that helps people differentiate, like, no, it's really not you, is when you go into a circumstance, into a situation, into an interaction with this person, do you leave feeling depleted?
Mm,
And they seem to have recovered, improved, swelled, right? Are you more disempowered and they are more empowered?
mm,
That's a sign that somebody is using you.
mm,
So that could be evidence of you're in a relationship with a narcissist. If you are finding that most of those conversations are involve some kind of finger pointing. So, are you being criticized, blamed, um, told that you are the problem? uh, that the solutions rest by you getting therapy or you getting help or you stepping down from a job and letting somebody else take it, stepping aside so somebody else can do the job right.
Mm.
If the conversations start to sound like that, then again, that's evidence that you're in the presence of somebody who's a user
Mm.
rather than, somebody that wants to collaborate with you. Um, if you notice that if you're really if you've spent some time with this person, a considerable time, if you notice that you're not able to keep track of time, that you numb out when you're around them, that you constantly feel the need to protect yourself, but don't. Those are all signs that you're in the presence of a toxic person.
Wow. And so I'm sure that's opening some eyes, unfortunately, for some people as they're listening,
Yeah.
right? Because I do think a lot of it at the beginning is awareness. So I love that you're able to teach a little bit on that so people know what they can need to look to.
This episode is sponsored by our guest, Dr. Sage Breslin's company, Sage Wisdom Institute. Through her ROSE system, Dr. Breslin helps high-achieving women and women in leadership recover from toxic relationships, reclaim their power, and rebuild their lives with clarity, confidence, and support. You can also take her Old Soul Women archetype quiz to better understand your strengths, patterns, and what may be pulling your energy away. Learn more at sagebreslin.com and oldsoulwomen.com.
Now, I know that you probably need to keep some of the archetype details under lock and key a little bit, but could you share some? How many are there, first of all?
There are 5.
5. Can you give, like, an overarching view? I'm thinking of, like, so the Enneagram, like, a quick, like,
Sure.
overview, a 1 is like this, a 2 is like that. Could you talk about some of
Yeah,
those? So
yeah,
the fairy you've
sure.
mentioned a little bit, if
So
someone
the fairy I've mentioned, and it's very funny because normally I would mention her last, but
she
I
got
really can't
top
relate, but
billing. Yeah.
I've got fairy on my mind. Quite a few of my fairy women have been in the news lately, and so that's what's in my head first and foremost. Um, the foundational archetype is the angel. And the reason I call her foundational is that many women, many old soul women come in that way. And then they have exposure that may alter the way their archetype fits.
Mm.
So there are many women who will take the quiz and they'll score as an angel. And typically I will send some follow-up emails. And I think in the second email, I share what all the archetypes are. And they're able to say, oh my gosh, that's me too.
Oh.
And so, the angel is pure of heart, maybe even in a childlike way, sees the good in all people, will extend herself to all people to assist whatever the need may be. Um, she may be so sort of, pure that her light just vibes out, and people sometimes will read her as, like, sensual or sexual when in fact it's just this exuberant energy that comes forth. Um, that's the angel. Let's see. The Magdalene is, definitely a sensual being.
Mm.
She is she is there to help other people learn to live through their bodies, just because that's how she relates to the world is through her body. So I often say, your archetype can even define how and what you eat. So
Wow.
with the Magdalene, this is really true because let's say you're going to go out to dinner with a Magdalene. Okay, well, first of all, she's probably going to choose the place. And second of all, when you go into that restaurant, everything will be just so. So it won't be overly loud, it won't be overly bright. I remember going with a Magdalene that I know to Moroccan food. And it was so sensual. Sat on cushions on the floor, and the people who came to serve us were dressed just so, and the lighting was kind of lovely, dim but not dark, and then all of the food was to be eaten with your hands and fed to one another.
Wow.
When they brought the tea, it was in these beautiful samovars. That is the sensate experience of the Magdalene, and everything about her life is like that. She just totally lives through her body.
Wow.
So, Angel, Fairy, Magdalene Harmonizer is here to ensure that communication is crystal clear between all parties so that they can experience love.
Mm.
So the harmonizer is here really to remove conflict by training, educating, um, pacifying, comforting. A harmonizer will normally look like the counselor, um, and you know them, like you meet them when you're in high school, and they're the paraprofessionals, right? They're counseling everybody about their boy and girl problems and their teacher problems and yada yada, parent problems. Those are typically harmonizers. A harmonizer gone wrong, though, a harmonizer who is disempowered in a toxic relationship could easily become a trophy wife. So
Mm.
everything will be exactly so. The kids will look perfect all the time. The house will look perfect all the time. Every single item that is served as at a dinner party is perfect.
Mm.
Um, she the hair is perfect, the nails are perfect, the clothes are perfect, everything matches, like, and even if they have a very, like, trendy or unique style, what you'll be like, "Oh my god, flawless."
Wow.
So, because, there is that drive for everything to sort of be pleasing,
Mm.
and harmonizers in unhealthy environments become people pleasers. So, the last archetype is the wise warrior. And there are lots of warriors out there, and generally speaking, they don't come in that way.
Mm.
They come in and then they undergo, very difficult circumstances, traumas and tragedies, and they learn to kind of wall up and be defensive and, keep everybody at arm's length. Those are warrior types, but they're not wise warrior types. Wise warriors come in to defend the voiceless. They come in to ensure that the underdog has their day. They come in to make sure that justice is served. So oftentimes you'll see a true wise warrior in positions of lawyer, advocates, human rights advocates, sometimes police officers, but you see more warriors there than wise warriors. Not my I didn't do it, I'm just saying, that's what the research shows. So, I would say that old souls, generally speaking, will look at those 5 types and they can identify themselves pretty quickly,
With
with or without the
those.
test.
Yeah, but that's cool. I love that you made something though, so that they can figure it out, especially if they don't know about the different types yet. But that's a great, like, overarching view of them. And then I guess, like, a even bigger question: how can women know if they are an old soul?
Wow, that's actually probably a little harder question, right? First, I would say if they take the quiz and they relate to everything, let's check the box, like, "Okay, so you are." Um, I would say more often than not, they've thought of themselves that way, or people have referred to them that way since they were small.
Mm.
Even, toddlerhood on. I knew meeting each of my kids, I have 4 old souls and 1 new soul,
Oh.
and the new souls are really easy to spot, they are here to consume everything so that they can adapt and create and just to experience it all. And old souls have kind of already done that
Mm.
to a certain degree, and they've already really embraced the wisdom. They're here probably to collect more of the wisdom than anything, and they're here to serve, uplift, and heal.
Wow.
So it's fun, yeah. My new soul is in the middle of my 5 children,
Of course. Of course, it's the middle child.
entertaining to the rest of them, so
You gotta have that, though. You gotta have the one that just kinda spices everything up for
oh
the
my
others.
gosh, yes. He's brilliant, but and I think that his new soul nature allows him to be more brilliant because he's so fascinated by everything. So that when he's a neuroscientist, so when he dove in, he dove in like Mach 10. He's
Oh, I love that.
there like, "Oh my god, I wanna know why that works and why that would why in the why would the brain transform like that?"
That's so cool.
Go.
I love this. Now, yeah, you're doing such amazing work, and a lot of it has come out of your own personal journey, which is fascinating. And so, I'm going to pivot some of these questions um, to entrepreneurs in general.
Mhm.
And my first one is, and I probably know the answer to it already, but so far in your journey, what has been the most rewarding part of building, especially the rose part of it for sure, but gosh, it's all, the institute as a whole. Overall, with all that you've done and all that you've created, what has been the most rewarding so far?
Honestly, I have pivoted a lot of times, and I've tasted a lot of the profession, and I've built more than one practice. I would say that generally speaking, I continue to do this work every time I see somebody blossom and flourish.
Yeah.
As a trauma psychologist, that that was the only thing that kept me going because you listen to stories that will absolutely obliterate you
Mm,
because they're so awful.
mm,
And then you just stay present and you stay present and you hold space and you stay present some more and you finally reach them in that space where you help them understand this wasn't their fault.
mm. Wow.
And then they just swell open, you know? And
Ah,
they're able to embrace their lives and talk about a pivot, they become resilient in this extraordinary way. And there's there's nothing better than that, honestly.
oh, that's
It's
lovely.
ecstatic,
Yeah.
it is really amazing. So, as I built this program and built this system, it allowed me to actually watch that more and more and more, and to be able to, help my colleagues even upload and understand and connect to this approach and watching it, redouble and redouble, and it's it's exciting.
Oh,
It's
that's
exciting
lovely.
to see people in the world then affecting other people more and more and more. It's the one to many that to me is so incredible.
That's awesome. That's one of my favorite things, about entrepreneurship and being a business owner. This, whatever that passion was to get you going. One of my previous guests called it the spark, the entrepreneurial spark. And whatever that was, when you see it become reality out there in the world, that is fascinating. Like my first company was actually, it was product based. And so I did some designs, for instance. And I remember I was at an event and someone came by wearing a t shirt I made. And I was like, "Whoa, that's cool." And just seeing it out there and seeing the thing that you created, you spent time on, that was your
Yeah,
passion, and then, anytime that it helps people be happier, more uplifted,
yeah,
you're helping women transform from something really heavy, to something like you said, then they're bursting with life at the
yeah,
end of it. That's
yeah.
incredible. So, yes, very good answer. If someone Googled your company right now and landed on your website, would they lean in and want to learn more, or would they quietly say, yikes, and close the tab? Your website is your first impression, and it's either drawing clients in or losing deals right and left. Whether we like it or not, people do still judge books by their covers, and your clients are making decisions about your business before they ever even reach out. At my company, Archer Collaborative, we design high-end strategic websites for businesses whose founders are ready for their online presence to finally align with the quality and professionalism they bring to their clients every day. Our designs are not just pretty. We bring full custom layouts, clear positioning, intentional structure, and smart systems behind the scenes, so your site actually supports your growth. If your business is doing incredible work, but your website still looks like you built it at 11 p.m. 3 years ago, then it's time to let us help you. Visit archercollaborative.com today and let's build something that is finally worthy of your business and its stellar reputation. Now, I love to ask all my guests this question because a lot of people listening, one of the hardest parts on the entrepreneurial journey and being a business owner is just getting clients, making sure this thing that you love, that you have passion for, that you're serving people with, that it actually also can translate into some, financial currency
Yeah.
that we can use, right?
Yes.
And lots of us, when we're heart led, like you are, that part it can either feel a little icky or a little, uh, it just can feel off-putting sometimes to think about
Mhm.
sales and stuff. So I love talking to someone like you, Dr. Breslin. If you can share, you know, what's your sales process like? What are you using? What's working for you in connecting with people and finding those clients that you get to help?
That's a great question. I really still feel in many ways that I'm still working through all that. I've had a machine gun fire approach. I would say more often than not these days, just contacting folks through LinkedIn
Mhm.
has worked very well. In fact, I can look at all of the people I've talked to through LinkedIn versus Facebook, even with Facebook ads, and
Mm.
there's just no comparison. So,
Wow.
going into the source of where the professionals are, where the leaders are, that has been good. That's been a good way to focus my efforts.
Awesome.
I'd also say that honestly, word of mouth is probably my best effort. So if I can reach somebody and I do well by them, they do tend to talk about not necessarily me, although that is true. They talk about their process. And honestly, even if they don't talk about their process, people notice the difference in them and the
Mm.
changes they've made in their life, their career, and they ask, how what happened? What did you do? You're so different now. So,
Wow.
I think, right, happy clients are the absolute best way to grow your business, but you have to get the prospects first, right? So
Right.
for me, honestly, that's been great. Um, and I've tried lots of different things. I'm not sure that any of them has been more helpful than targeted marketing on LinkedIn.
That's amazing. I feel like I'm hearing that, I think, quite a bit, that those 2 things, LinkedIn and referrals, which is wonderful. And so, yeah, I mean, I just started some LinkedIn stuff myself, so I love that you're sharing that. And the referrals are wonderful. I was talking to a guy earlier today, and I said, he's got some things he wants to do AI wise, and I was like, you know, you're talking about a quote. I'm going to give you quotes, but also at the end of the day, you telling everybody that I'm the best AI queen you've ever seen is gonna go a million times further than
Yes.
if I
Yes.
charge you for the XYZ for this right now. So, like, I think that's so interesting. Like, for me, I'm almost, like, bartering more for, like, a word of mouth reviews than
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
payment
Yeah.
in some people. So I love that you said that, because I think that that's 100% true, and the more that you get those wonderful referrals, so those clients
Yeah.
are happy. One of the things, I'm in tech, so a lot of people outsource things. And, I get asked that a lot, "Are you gonna outsource this work?" And I'm like, "No, because I want you to be beyond thrilled. If I do outsource this,
Yeah.
you better believe it's gonna be to my friend that worked with Oracle."
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
They're gonna be even more advanced than I am, and you're
Right.
gonna be beyond happy about that. But, yeah, I think that's a really good answer to the question, and it does seem to be on trend with what I'm hearing right now. So, another reason why I do this podcast, so that people are getting real life, real time things. So right now, LinkedIn and still the old fashioned, word of mouth seem to
Yeah.
be reigning, supreme. So think about
Right.
that, people, when as you're gathering new clients, if you're in a new journey or you're just
Yeah.
expanding, utilize LinkedIn and make sure that those clients are always very happy. Um,
Yeah.
so one of the things that I love to ask every client or every guest is, there's always the love and what I call, like, the ugh about running a business. So, Dr. Breslin, for you personally, what do you love about running a business and being a business owner? And then what are the
Yeah.
things that you're like, "Oh, I delegated that day 1
Yeah.
to technology or to a person," or it still bothers me? I think it changes all the time as we
Yeah.
grow.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's your love and your ugh in your business?
Yeah. My love, I think, is obvious based on my answer to previous questions. I love working with my clients. I love it. And I love the colleagues that work with me, but there are times where I know, like, I hit my capacity and I have to hand off. Have to hand off. Like, I'm like, "Oh, shoot, my cohort's full. Okay, like, so I'm gonna have to refer this person to you." And they're like, "Great." And I'm like,
But I don't want them to go, but okay.
and I mean, they're all still kind of in-house, but it is interesting. Like, I am genuinely just fascinated and, adoring of the clients that I work with.
Mm.
I think my biggest ugh, me I would probably prefer to outsource most of my marketing. I will tell you how much I outsource my tech because there are things that I'm good at and I should spend time doing those. I have learned just enough about accounting to do what I have to do to hand it off to the accountant.
Bye-bye accounting. I
So
could not relate to you more on that.
yeah,
Bye. Bookkeeping, accounting,
yeah, yeah.
and it's
I,
vital. We have to
yes,
do it.
absolutely.
Oh,
Well, and I think especially I had somebody embezzled from me more than one
oh,
actually,
no.
two people, and yeah, what that taught me was, know your accounting system really well. Keep your eye on those monthly expenditures and what you think are your monthly deposits.
Mm.
And if I found this is a weird one, I found a deposit, kept on getting this call from American Express. And I just thought, like, why would they be calling me? I don't want another sales call. I already have a merchant account with you. Well, finally, I took this call, and it was after quite a while. Like, shame on me. And this man said, I think that we may not have up to date information from you. Now, there are a lot of scams that sound just like this.
Right, right.
And so I was very careful to sort of not disclose, not disclose. And he said, I'm going to tell you the reason that I'm concerned about this because we have as your old data. And he gives me all this data, including account numbers. And I said, I haven't had those account numbers in 18 years.
Mm.
And he said, that's why the balance of $26,000 sitting here hasn't been released to you.
Whoa. And you're like,
How did
"Oh my gosh, I have that just sitting."
Because most of my clients don't use American Express, but I figured out there were 2 clients who did, and I went back, I looked at every report, and sure enough, here it's missing, missing, missing.
Oh my
I did the math, called them back, said, "Here's the banking information," and the next day, cue, there's 26.
wow.
So, here's a rule. Yes,
Wow.
be very leery of scams, but also know your books.
No, you're
Know what's supposed to come in. If it's not there, take issue with it. And you know what? You can hand the accountant all this stuff later, or if you're going to hand it to a bookkeeper, you make sure the bookkeeper is as aggressive as you would be because that's your money,
yeah.
you know?
Oh, that's such
So,
a good tip. And
yeah,
I think probably a lot of us entrepreneurs, business owners, founders, we are so passionate about what we do
yeah,
that those kinds of things, like, oftentimes it's sales and marketing. Now, I love sales and marketing, but, like, a lot of people hate that part. They're like, "I just wanna do my thing. I
yeah,
do not want the sales and marketing piece." But then so for me, I could not relate to you more with the bookkeeping part, and that is so vital, just
yeah,
as vital as the sales themselves and
absolutely.
marketing and delivering a good product. But man,
Yeah,
and then how many of us sweep that stuff under the rug and I mean, so that is a great tip though, like
yeah,
to really focus on that as much as we don't want to, even at a higher like hire it out, great.
yeah,
Have people, work on the granular parts for you. However, keep at least a good little,
yeah.
finger
Got to keep your
on
eye
the
on
pulse
it.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
like that's so
yes.
good because I probably am insanely guilty of that and need to get on that. Okay, let's talk about your business and your plans for it though.
Yeah.
So it's very exciting. I can tell it's like a huge passion for you right now. If we are talking Dr. Breslin in 1 year from now, what are your hopes and dreams for what we could be talking about in that discussion and what you have been able to achieve?
Yeah. I think, probably the biggest piece is just scaling from where we are now to serving more and more cohorts of women. The more cohorts move through the year-long journey, the more the community actually evolves and develops, and that's a big portion of what we offer is contact with other fairies, other Magdalens, right? So that you're learning not just it's like you do what you do, and you could probably glean how to do some sort of counseling or advocacy, but I cannot do what you do.
Right.
I just can't. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
So you'd want to know, if you're doing this work, you want to work with other people who get you. They speak your language. The same with me.
Yeah.
For me, it's, I want to know other wise warriors because that's how I can relate to the world most easily. So the
Mhm.
more cohorts we are able to graduate, the bigger the community is, and that then helps all of the cohorts that are coming in. So scaling would be probably the number one goal.
Nice.
Um, Coming up in 2026, hopefully, the book will be published, Ditch the Narcissist Magnet. That
Wow.
that'll be number 6, but this is my love child because it is related to everything we've talked about today.
Wow.
And then, hopefully also in 2026, my podcast with Wendy Stevens is, called the Narcissist Diaries podcast,
Nice.
and, really looking at it from a couple of different angles. Um, and really being able to, like you, interviewing folks who have had these experiences, being able to be helpful and healing during the process of the podcast, but also really just allowing more and more folks to become aware. So we're educating, training, uplifting all at the same time, and
Well,
doing that in a broader global level.
yeah, and bringing more awareness to it too, and more, light to those stories.
Yeah,
And like I have some people I'm already like, oh yeah, okay, Dr. Breslin, I've got some people I can probably connect you with for your
excellent.
podcast. But yeah, that sounds lovely. I love those goals. Those are incredible goals. I know that you're going to go for those and achieve those. So thank you for sharing them with us. And if the community listening can help out in any way, that would be awesome. I have to pause on the book one moment because I love that
Yeah,
you mentioned that and you said it's your 6th.
yeah.
And usually I talk about the books back behind me. For listeners who've never seen it, I have a beautiful bookshelf behind me that I
It's
often
very colorful.
right. So that is my partner's thing. So I'm not an organization person. That is where that's one of my Uggs. We had all these books. She turned it into this. And again, people for reference at least take one look at the bookshelf. It's stunning. But I usually point back there because we all have read those books, and I often say in the podcast, the point of this is to get people to hear people's voices that we may, often probably won't write a book, but Dr. Breslin has written them and is writing another one, so we can look out for that in 2026, especially if you want to learn more about ditching the narcissists in your life. And I know a lot of really incredible women need that help. Um, but that does kind of lead into my next question that I like to ask people. So I only have 3 more questions left for you, Dr. Breslin.
Sure.
This one is, and unfortunately, we cannot answer with either of our own podcasts, and we can't answer with our own books that we've written. But what is a book or a podcast or even a social profile that you've come across recently that you think our community should check out?
Oh, I don't know this guy's name.
We can try and look it up.
Uh, I um, alright, so, I use TikTok not so much for myself. In fact, I don't know how to scroll even Instagram very well. My kid's, like, trying to teach me how to do that, and, yeah, kind of stuck at it, so but I happened to come across this African American fellow, pretty young guy named Kyle,
Oh,
and he does what I would call a rap, but it isn't really a rap. And he speaks specifically to women who have been mistreated.
oh, wow.
And the one he released today, I think it was today, was about praying that the first week of December would be lighter for her.
Oh,
I would say lighter for me, that like beautiful, like language, and his cadence is amazing.
I'm so
And
excited. I'm trying to pull it up right now,
and
but
I
keep going.
and yeah, no. So he sometimes when he gets going, he'll become louder and louder and more amount demanding, and
Oh,
but in a good way. And he's very uplifting. It's very rare for me to want to follow someone and follow them religiously. And strangely, again, I remember his name is Kyle.
is it
Um,
Kyle Fuller?
hmm,
Fuller?
I wonder if I
That may
left
not
it
be
on
right.
my. Yeah, I wonder if I left it on
Yeah.
my TikTok. Let me just look at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see something about
Um,
affirmations, but I don't know.
he often starts his sort of, you might even call them rants, except they're prayers more than anything,
Mm.
with baby girl. He'll say it's like, "Baby girl, I
Aw.
know you feel, He's just so sweet because he's quite young. I mean, he's
Aw.
not like a teenager, but he's probably in his 20s, and he is just so inspirational. I mean,
Aw.
I've come across other people in my 60 years that I found inspirational, but this struck me,
Wow.
just struck me that how
Is it this guy?
impactful. Yes!
That's him.
That's him!
Okay, we
Yes!
found him. It is so it's Kyle Fuller, I think is how you pronounce it. So everybody who wants to check out at Kyle Fuller official.
There you go.
I love that. So that
He's
is a
wonderful.
daily dose of happiness for you.
Yes. It totally is.
Sweetness. He lifts you up, inspires
Yes.
you.
Love it.
So
Love it.
that's the guy. Okay. I love
Yes.
that. Thank you for sharing that. You're the first person to give me a TikTok. I'm a big fan of TikTok. And most, like I get a lot of podcasts, a lot of books, but I love that you gave me a TikTok to check out. That
Yeah.
is awesome. I do spend some time on there, so getting something really positive
There you
in there
go.
besides
Now you
funny
got him.
dog videos. Yeah, like I have someone else to
Yeah.
check out. Good. Okay. Two questions from the end. If there is one message you would like for our listeners to take away from our conversation today, what would it be?
Yeah. So for the entrepreneurs out there, know your strengths and weaknesses.
Hmm.
And weaknesses are not something to be ashamed of. Like, know what you're good at, and don't focus on what you're not good at.
Yeah.
That's something that I think I learned a little later in the game,
Mhm.
was it's really okay to outsource when you need
Yep.
to, and follow the thing that really, warms your heart. Like,
Yeah.
that's loving what you do is more important than whatever amount of dollars come into your bank account. I know that, it doesn't feel like that, all the time, but it will sustain you through the hard times, and it will, in fact, grow your business and your bank account eventually.
Yeah.
Um, to the women who have been listening and relating to this notion of being in toxic relationships, I have one brief message. It's not your fault.
So let's say it again.
Or
It is not
not your fault.
your fault.
Yeah.
You have been
Yeah.
told it's your fault, probably
Yes.
over and over and over.
Over
It
and
is
over.
very important for you to know it's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not your fault. That's really
Yeah.
good. Now, for amazing women listening who have said, "Oh, shoot, I believe that I might be who she's talking about," or "I know that, and I just don't know what to do." Or I finally left, but now my life is different and difficult and I don't know what to do. So for any which reason that our amazing listeners might be wanting to learn more about you, read your book whenever it comes out, follow along for that, read some of the books you've already done. They want to take your quiz. So the quiz, we've already told them where to go, but how can they follow along with you, learn more about you and work with you?
Sure. The master site is www.sagebreslin.com. There is another website that will actually, uh, maybe by next week, kind of consume everything and lead forward. But right now, you can still get it from sagebreslin.com. Sagewisdominstitute.com is our membership site. It offers our Daily Pearls inspirational membership, some leadership courses. You can access the Rose system. You can even access, we have a special going on for a 90-minute deep dive, so that you can access that there. I'm Boy, on most social media, if you just look at Sage Breslin, at Sage Breslin, should come up for the most part. I think on TikTok, I'm Dr. Sage Breslin.
You are
So,
very lucky to be able to use just your first and last name. Like, and Brittany Rodriguez was
yes,
gone probably 30 years ago, so
I don't know
that's
how it
awesome.
happened.
Oh,
Thank
you're
you, God.
lucky.
I don't
Yes.
know. Yeah,
Yes, and that you may only have to have doctor right in front of it on one.
right.
That's fantastic. So,
Worked out.
awesome. And then we will link all those in the show notes too. Dr. Breslin, thank you so much for taking the time. Thanks for chatting
Thank
about,
you.
how you're helping women, especially these beautiful women that are doing nothing but pouring their heart out and
Yes.
unfortunately sometimes getting taken advantage of. And thank you for helping those leaders out and helping them, like you said, bloom and give back to a very very abundant life. So, and thank you for stopping by, sharing your entrepreneurial journey with us as well. And we're very excited to see what 2026 brings for you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to Dr. Sage Breslin for joining us and sharing her work, her story, and her wisdom. If this conversation made you think about the people, patterns, or relationships draining your energy, take that seriously. As entrepreneurs, our clarity, confidence, and capacity matter. Be sure to check out Sage Wisdom Institute, take the Old Soul Women quiz, and follow Dr. Sage's work through the links in the show notes. We'll see you next time. Now go get 'em.